in-person services.
Show.
And there are difficulties, as you can imagine, with the personal distancing, the wearing of the masks. We have a few things that we're going to change, including the service associate will be lighting the candles for those who are sharing in joys and concerns. And I'll go ahead and light the chalice, and we're going to try to maintain our social distancing as much as possible. Also, thank you, Gene. Singing is one of the problems that they've discovered, because when you sing, you create more of the aerosol droplets and contribute to the opportunity to infect others in case you, in fact, are positive. So if you would please refrain from singing the hymns and we have no order of service. It's a disorder of service, right?
There you go.
I would like to say a few things. Last night we had a wonderful celebration of the summer solstice. We had great participation, a nice campfire, and fellowship. Please submit our announcement to Mike, our administrative assistant, for inclusion in the newsletter, the midweek notes, and order of service. Dottie asked me to share with you that we lost our Tana, who was also known as Rose, Friday, and she had committed suicide. A GoFundMe has been started by Say Shahani on Facebook. That's Ceysahene. And also there will be a service announced on or in July or August. If you have any questions, please contact Dottie with any questions. Submit any announcements to Mike, our administrative assistant, for inclusion in the newsletter, the midweek notes, and the order of service. This congregation welcomes all people, regardless of their age, religion, race, nationality, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or anything else that has been used to divide people. We are a group of people with our own opinions, our own ideas, our own dreams, but we share ideals. We share a common belief in a liberal religion. In our discussions, we may disagree with each other, but we must always remember that what unites us is stronger than what separates us. We must always leave this room aware of the love that we have for each other. We have no visitors. So normally, this would be the time that we would extend our hands in a warm welcome to each other, and I'll give you an opportunity to look at each other from afar.
What's the name?
Okay, I'm going to light the chalice. For so the children come, and so they have been coming, always in the same way they've come before. Born of the seed of man and woman, no angels herald their beginnings, no prophets predict their future courses. No wise men see a star to show where to find the babe that will be save mankind. Yet each night a child is born is a holy night. Mothers and fathers, sitting beside their children's cribs, feel glory in the sight of a new life beginning. They ask, where and how will this new life end? Or will it ever end? Each night a child is born is a holy night. A time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worship. So instead of rising and singing the hymn, Wiley is going to play the opening hymn for us. Do you have a paper? Because I don't know which one's first. Oh, just.
Just wing it.
That's better.
It's two verses or something.
Sunday, we ask for financial support by passing the offering basket during the service. Your donations of gifts, talents, and time contribute to the community here that enriches and serves us all. boundless goodwill. Let us cultivate boundless goodwill. Let none deceive another or despise any deed in any state. Let none in anger or ill will wish another harm. Even as a mother watches over her child, so with boundless mind should one cherish all living beings, radiating friendless over the whole world, above, below, and all around, without limit. I would like to say before we start the Father's Day that it has been an extraordinary period with the acceleration of the Black Lives Matter movement and also with the joining of many other social movements in unity with those who are seeking justice in our community. And I thank everybody in the community, in our UU community, who has contributed to the others, especially over the past week. So our Father's Day service is going to be individual sharing. We have a few videos, as I said before, but I'll start. You'll, of course, notice that I'm wearing a suit today. And you've all seen me in a suit. That's no big deal. But I'll tell you why I wear a suit. I lived with my grandparents and my father at the same time during the early 60s. And I remember as a young child, almost every time my grandfather left the house, that when he was not working, he had a suit on. He was involved in his various social groups, and any time that he participated, he represented himself by wearing a suit, but also in wearing that suit, he showed that his respect for all the others that were participating with him. My father was the same way, not so much in his later years, but during that period of time, the way that you showed your respect for the people that you were associated with is that you wore a suit when you went out. And so I've never been afraid of wearing a suit and tie because it is a display of my respect to the people that I am associated with. I happened to be, after church one day, I went to the grocery store, and a woman said to her husband in passing, "Oh, he looks nice." And he said, "Oh, he's just trying to show off and make himself look better than everybody else." Right? And I thought, how wrong you are as to the reason that I wear this suit. So that's just one of the lessons that my fathers taught me. And I sure miss them. So, does anybody want to share this period? When? Yeah, come on up here.
Hello. I apologize, I don't have a speech prepared, but it's not very hard to discuss from the heart my father. The one word that comes up is strength. My dad is the strongest person I've ever known, second to my mother. The man's constantly in back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, several mental problems from just Vietnam, and then just a career of moving Coke machines, hauling crate after crate onto a pallet, loading it, driving it to a store, unloading it. It's wore his body down. But he never once complained, never once bitched and moaned or anything. You wouldn't know the man was in pain. And I'm 28 now, and it took me until I was 26 to really appreciate everything that he taught me subconsciously. Work hard. Life isn't fair. That's the way it is. There's no point in complaining. You have a job to do, so do it and do it well. And that's really, that level of strength and toughness is something that I'm ashamed that it took me so long to appreciate everything he did, but I'm glad that I recognize it, and I can only do my best to emulate the kind of person he is. So, I love my father very much, and I'm glad we're having this moment to share, so thank you very much for listening.
Why don't we show Kathy's video?
Shall I speak it?
No, hold on.
And it's a beautiful tribute to my father, who was a great person. He was an engineer, he was an electrical engineer. But that does fall far from the tree in the case of Kennedy, but we loved him very much, and he was just a great father. When he was younger, he liked to fly, he would take the Girl Scouts out on an airplane ride, and things like that. You know, he just cared about kids and his children, and his wife, and our family. So anyway, I want you to know about him today. Charles LeMoyne Ellison, my dad.
Hi, my name is Sarah Austin. Today we are celebrating Father's Day. And I wanted to share this beautiful painting that my grandpa did on last day. This was my first sleigh ride. I'm with Lydia, and I'm about 1 year old, so this is a really special trip for me. But there's always been something fun, whether it was coaching softball or basketball, or, just making a joke, trying to make sure he's just happy. And I love him. He's a good man. I love him. And I hope that you have a beautiful Father's Day, Dad. I love you.
Glenda Reed here, and this is my dad, George Lee Baker, on his 90th birthday.
I've been going hiking with my dad as long as I can remember. Blue Hills, White Mountains, other places. It's just one of the things that we do when we're together. The last time was in McCormick's Creek in January, and I hope that it won't be too long until we're able to do it again somewhere.
This is a picture of my father, George Christone. He didn't really prepare anything formal to say, but I thought I would take this when I came this morning. He passed away at 95, 4 years ago. He and my mom were somewhat adventurous. Some of you do know he was born Jewish in Berlin. He loved to tell us about his bike rides across the city of Berlin. And then when he was 16, they sent him to school in England because they closed the universities in Germany to Jews. He actually really liked England. He worked really hard at English language. Went back to Berlin only once that summer for the 1936 Olympics. And then ended up, his parents had gotten out, made it to New York, and he, after 3 years of university in London, was put in an internment camp. German. That he was Jewish didn't matter. But because he had family in New York and he had a ticket to get to New York, they let him go, and he got there. He enlisted in the U.S. Army because he wanted to become an American citizen, and he had very poor eyesight without correction, which meant that he couldn't fight. So he actually was in one of the, I'm not certain of this, but we're talking already mid-40s. He was stationed at the Pentagon right when it opened, and spent, because he had some familiarity with foreign languages, worked, again, he didn't talk a lot about himself, but he was in charge of the telegraphs going back and forth to London. Then when the European War ended, in charge of the telegraphs going back and forth to Japan, not Japan, to Asia. While the war was still going on there, he became aware, he sort of knew what was going on, and volunteered for the American occupation forces, and spent 5 years in Japan, where he met my mother, who was also in the American occupation forces, and they married, lived with a wonderful Japanese family that I am still friends with, and I was born a few months after they came back to the U.S., where they moved to Boston, because that's where my mother was from. This is a bit of a long story, but I just want to convey some of the complexity of his life, which he shared with us, and which we really were taught to value. He became a businessman, which was why we lived in various places, always on the East Coast. And then I will say his last adventure was when he was already in his 60s. He took a job in Indonesia with my mother, but I traveled there to spend time with him. My sister lived there for a year, so again, more adventure. They came home, and he, after 6 years, and relocated to Vermont. So it's been, my father, he was very smart. He felt very sorry. He converted to Christianity. He was very, very, very involved in the church, very involved in really teaching, really believing in strong ethical values. And that was something that he conveyed to us growing up. So that I feel like he gave us very many things as my dad.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Christy. And first I want to say thank you to my husband, who is staying at home with our son. He is a wonderful father. And Lincoln has also decided that he loves Daddy more, as he's told me several times since quarantine started. No love, Mama, love Dad. So, no, he loves me. Daddy doesn't make him do things he doesn't want to.
Could you move closer to the mic?
Yes. Is that better? Sorry, yes. So I wanted to pay my respects to my husband, because he's just a wonderful father, but I also wanted to pay my respects to my own father. 3 years, it's been 3 years, more than 3 years since he died. And he, like Lynn, his father, showed such strength throughout his life. And he showed it in doting on his children. He worked himself to the bone all the time. But every once in a while, when us kids would miss him, and couldn't really relate to me, and I loved books, but he turned me on to movies, and that was one of the main things that we could always talk about. Movies and actors, especially action movies. And I can't even tell you how many times we went to the theater while he was alive. It must have been close to 1,000. I spent so much money on movie theater popcorn, it's not even funny. And his strength throughout his life dealing with the complications of Agent Orange, amputation, all the pain that goes with that, neuropathy, because of the Agent Orange, he became diabetic, in addition to having congestive heart failure and massive heart attacks. That when he went into hospice, I was so angry. So angry. Because he had held out for so long. And I didn't want it to be the end. But he held so much, he gave me a gift and a privilege. He knew that my brothers couldn't handle being with him at the end very well. So he actually waited until they left, and then told me that he wanted to go, and he wanted to be with me anymore. And so he was. And even though he was in incredible pain and he lasted in the hospice 5 days when they didn't expect him to last more than a day and a half, he used his strength for his children. And that's a memory I never want to forget.
Any others? Thank you for everybody for sharing. Before we go on, I'd like to point out some of the things that have happened to the physical building over the last month. We managed to get John, completely John, hired a contractor, designed the project, hired the contractor, and oversaw its installation of the drain system that's in the front. So now we have a very large storage tank out front that will catch the water and allow that to dissipate whenever we have large rainfall and hopefully stop the deterioration of the front of the building because of the huge amount of water that was up there. Also, John and Kevin Hughes have installed a Wi-Fi system in the whole building here. And although it had a hiccup this morning, for whatever reason, it is extremely powerful and more to come about that. Also, I'd like to thank Sam and Leo Martland for doing all of the online presentations that we've had over the last couple months. That's been a wonderful opportunity for us to share during that period.
Tell them about the card, Bill, if they didn't sign it last night.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, there's a card out front for, a thank you card for Kevin Hughes out front, if you'd like to sign it when you go out. It's laying on the little table.
Next to sanitizer.
Okay. So, Wiley, we have a closing hymn. Thank you. 15. Your children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, no, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the boughs from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer seeks the mark upon the path of the infinite, and bends you with the might that the arrows might go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Caleb, brother. I don't have a congregational benediction, so I'm going to extinguish the chalice. Go in peace, know that you are loved, and that your life is safe.